Oh, they have, honestly. I think coming into this game before the veto, I would have said that for me, they were very likely to win this. I think the veto maybe puts it up into the air a little bit more. And we have seen big moments from High Coast. You know, we've cast them a few times. RCF has had some incredible moments, and Pwn Alone's had some big moments on Dust2. You were casting on the B site where he picked up that crazy 1v3 clutch. So we know that they have it within them, but Motum has just had his head removed from Sonic, who just walks casually into lower tunnels.
Yeah, an ex-teammate coming back to bite him. A little bit of a grudge match coming in, and they've got a setup to watch towards long. OC does take a bit of a nasty tag. I wonder if the T's might have to fall away from this. No, they're going to continue their push forward.
Straightforward. Flashes proceeding through the smoke. And Boo taking point, going in first, trying to help his teammates back into this round, but instead he's cartwheeled out, dead before he hits the ground from OC's USP. The bomb goes with him, and Pwn Alone, the absolute beast from a couple days ago with a P250, can only get the one before he succumbs to his wounds.
Yeah, strong start from Extra Salt. Of course, I'm never a fan of a team picking Dust2. I can understand the reasoning behind it for High Coast being a map that I think Extra Salt have shown some vulnerabilities on in the past, but it really does come down to just momentum and the way that the individuals play. And in terms of the individuals, that is where I head it over to Extra Salt. Like, even just looking at some of the stats, like we mentioned RCF being up there. OC over the last few months has got a 1.37 rating. There's not many players around at the moment that will have much higher than that.
Yeah, that is pretty significant. Very impressive indeed. In the meanwhile, High Coast getting a bit of aggression down on the double doors. Fang in perfect position with the MP9 to deal a fatal blow. And he doubles up and gets the third as well. Just pushes straight out the double doors. Money in the bank, prints out the cash for himself. And Motum caught in no man's land. Quickfire 2-0.
Yeah, not that heavy an investment either. Like, the majority SMGs for Extra Salt, and that was everything that was thrown into the round for High Coast. So they're not going to be able to invest anything. So those SMGs have the chance to basically burn even more in terms of their finances and just set themselves up in the early stages. I'm also interested to see the sort of double AWP setup come out from Extra. So I always remember Sonic like picking it up. But there was a time even when he was trying to primary AWP on the old Envy roster. I will say that was one of the most mental things I ever saw. Was like, Nifty going, yep, I'm a rifler and not an in-game leader anymore. And you're like, okay, bud, like, those are your two things. But yeah, the fact that he can definitely pick it up as a secondary is a huge benefit. And realistically, him and OC could be terrifying, especially if they keep just making this much cash along the way. They could have a double AWP in the first round if they really wanted to.
Just a block. Fang will be chasing him down with the Tech 9 and puts the bullet in the head. Another clean sweep round. The only kill was in the pistol. And even then, it was a complete and utter disaster for High Coast. So let's see if they can bounce back with their full rifle round. RCF does have enough for an AWP. Maybe dipping down into glass cannon territory, but he could pick it up. And I'd expect to see him do just that. There we go. Goes for a headless armor.
He's going to try and spot on the cross. I want to mention as well, like, Fang's camera. Well, maybe not the time. Motum's just going to take a head off one. What I was going to say is Fang's camera looked incredible in the interviews and now looks like it's his phone. So I don't know what's happened there. The quality seems to have dropped quite significantly, but wow. This round, at least, it's going to be Marky dropping. Straight out of long, control garnered for High Coast. This is their buyback in, and bear in mind, this is almost a straight bonus. Like, this is as good as a bonus gets nowadays, Vince, with the amount of finances that are there for Extra Salt. So if they can even do damage, if they can even drop 2-3 players, they'll come back into the next round incredibly strong.
There's a fast flank as well. Fang is moving all the way around the back. The last 2 rounds he's been on long doors, and now he's already getting up behind them. Even if JT goes down, as long as Fang can drop a couple of players, that could be good enough. But they may get bypassed, because already the T's are picking up the pace. They've took long control now, moving through on Catwalk, but OC with an integral FAMAS kill, pushes through the Molotov, didn't really have any other options, to be honest. And to be fair to him, he was basically screwed wherever he pushed, and that flank has finally came out, but because it's the MP9 at long range, it does nothing. Sonic is still alive just for a few more moments before he's put down. But again, because of the fact that it was a bonus round, sure, they lose, but they took 3 players with them. I don't think Extra Salt will be too bothered about that.
Yeah, they took 3 players, and there was a real world where Sonic actually manages to win that round. So the fact that Modem's low and it just seems like he missed a few of the bullets shooting between the sandbags, I don't know, that easily could have gone the other way. Not the greatest of starts for High Coast, but they at least convert. But as said, here is that double AWP straight away. Sonic's going to invest into the secondary. He's going to be manning it throughout middle, something he's done for quite a while in previous rosters. As said, dating all the way back to the prior Envy roster he was on briefly. Now we get to see whether he can do anything with it. Flashbang will isolate him, force him off the angle. Smoke from Modem. Obviously, it works both ways with the read coming through, but he will have been involved in the creation of a lot of the strategies that were there for that team, even mentioning it when talking about his current team, that the protocols weren't quite there in comparison. I'm going to be looking at that man especially to try and find the holes in this current team's defense.
Smoke's deployed onto Catwalk, not fully committing behind this, actually dropping down into CT as Motum. An aggressive element that High Coast have going for them, takes a shot from the AWP, but gives as good as he receives. Sonic's been dropped down to 8, and his tag team partner on B has gone down before Sonic falls alongside with him. RCF finishes off the weakened Sonic, and now High Coast will have post-plant, and more than likely, the round will follow up. Now, they did lose one of their AWPs, which is pretty nasty for Extra Salt. They'd like to be able to hold on to both of those. And if Boo continues to press forward, he may be able to nullify 2 more of these weapons. And indeed, he shall. There's one. AWP shot comes out, does connect, and OC puts him down. Really should be getting picked off there. And so Extra Salt can save these 2 weapons. It could have been so much worse for them.
It also could have been better. Like, it looked like they wanted to try and get themselves back into the round somehow, but the time had already ticked quite far. And even though there were a few low players over on the High Coast side, a B-site retake and a 4v3, like, you're almost betting on a mistake from your opposition. So clearly feeling confident, no doubt about that. But now the intriguing thing is, what do they do here? They've got one player with enough to comfortably buy. But other than that, it's a little bit awkward.
This is that OC moment. No scope to the dome of Boo. But they still got themselves that secondary round. They only have the one up. They didn't take both of them. But they are up against 3 pistols. And OC may have to play aggressive to try and supplement some of those lacks of firepower elsewhere. 2 players on Catwalk as well, Tom, and they do have Marquis M4 with Fang almost playing like the bait and switch position, the anti-flash spot. But it doesn't look as though High Coast are too interested on the Catwalk side. Instead, they're occupying long.
Short control being taken completely with a push into middle. Modern waiting, expecting this, it seems. He'll get the first, but the rifle on the other side, if this is even a trade for Extra Salt, that would be worthwhile. They could potentially gain an extra AK. Instead, though, they found a couple of kills. One through the smoke. OC's AWP having massive impact as well. Sonic's going to take a risk playing the edge of the smoke, but he's got very little to lose, and Boo's going to try and plant in front of him. He's hoping to deny it, and actually he does stop him. He doesn't get the kill, but that doesn't matter too much. Eventually the bomb will go down, but the rest of his teammates have been able to reclaim short control, and it's going to have to be the hold from long.
Going along with the first, and now Boo can line them up with the AK. Spraying down Marquis. They still have the AWP and the M4 in play, but for too much longer. RCF connects onto JT on the cross. He will fall, as will the remainder. Extra Salt have lost the last few rounds in a row, and High Coast, well, they're switching it up. They're starting to power forward into a pretty good position of their own, Tom.
There's been a few risky repeaks as well from the players on Extra Salt. It's like, yeah, they'll buy fine into this round, but they could have had extra utility. In fact, Fang had to drop over the AWP just to make sure it was there for OC. And he repeaks when he's already low on HP just to try and make things costly for the Ts, which, in all honesty, would have made no difference to their buy. Like, Boo's currently on 5,200. There's 2 other players that can buy comfortably as well, so maybe just sheer confidence coming through against an opposition that they believe they can beat. Of course, the interview with Fang said just as much, but I feel like if they take liberties here, they could be punished. Again, though, it'll be a similar start. Sonic has found the opener. He's had a fantastic beginning to this game. Look how aggressive they're getting. Not even checking the majority of the angles, and well, they are very lucky that RCF missed.
That could have gone a whole different way. Boo getting up close and long, dealing with JT, and that puts more pressure on OC once again, but he has passed the first test. Head removed of Boo. Smoke does allow him a bit of safe passage towards the backside of the site. There's another CT coming up through on the elevator side, where Fang is waiting for the flashes and smokes to subside. He may go in after this. 2 of the 3 remainder of the Ts are pushing up on Catwalk right now, and RCF goes up for 1. It's both the players over on the ramp have both chipped in with frags. Now Pone alone can show his hand, sprays down from Catwalk, goes one-on-one trade, and Ben Lee, 10 HP to his name, goes down to Marquis. The M4 shines and prevails in the dying embers of the round. Wants to make sure he takes the AWP out of it too, and more than enough time for the defuse.
It's ridiculously close, and a bomb plant is perfect for High Coast at least. It will give them some bonus cash, and I have to say, like, Extra Salt, they are playing a very risky game, like, very aggressive, almost disrespectful at times. Like, you look at the opening pick, solid flashbang, but then these peaks coming out from OC, he has to land these shots, otherwise it could easily be slipping away. And even the jump up from Marquis at the end, like, sure, it gives information, but that was one of the only ways I feel like Ben could have actually won that round. So it is a victory, but I'm not feeling overly confident in Extra Salt thus far. It's not been clean and clinical. It's not been the sort of rounds we saw from Pain, for example, earlier in the day. However, as long as they get the victories, as long as they get the rounds, that's all that really matters. Ben, though, see you later, Sonic.
Marquis, the hero of the last round, has to try and stick the landing again. He's done just that with 2 kills, narrowly away from the headshot onto Pone alone. Best case, though, to put him down to about 10 HP, I should say, and take away 90. Wouldn't have been the outright frag. Oh, 1 tap from Boo, and he gets a second as well. Onto JT from CT Spawn. And that should have tied this round up. That should be High Coast bouncing right back in with success. I don't see OC throwing this AWP away as good as he's been so far. He has to hold on to it. He has to tap out.
Well, yeah, that's all they've really been saving thus far. It is just going to be that AWP, and they have no money to go alongside it. So High Coast, if anything, I would say are in the driver's seat right now. Financially, sure, they're not too safe, but you look over on the other side and they can't even really warrant a buy. Like, the loss bonus isn't going to be enough to get them anything. They'll have to wait for another round, and I imagine this means that OC's just going to have to try and take things into his own hands. But I really like the sort of the initial start. They caught one player off guard, and then it relied basically on Marquis killing the whole team. Boo's shots as well, as you mentioned, were pretty damn ridiculous.
That first 1 tap up middle was just outrageous. Second one, bit more regulation. Extra Salt down to the AWP, down to the Deagle. And OC is thinking about getting aggressive. Maybe we'll boost up to peek down on the lower tunnels. Gets the success they were looking for. I was wondering if Sonic was going to rush out and try and pick up that AK, but it would have been to his detriment because Bo is waiting here, anticipating that push to come in. 3 players around the side as Ben actually gets the first kill for the T's. Boo spins in with 1. He's going to get overwhelmed, runs out of ammunition with the AK-47, and OC with the wide swing puts him down. But it's at great cost to Extra Salt, and even though they picked up 2, they've lost 3 in reply.
Yeah, they've made things costly, but that'll be all. They can take an AK out of this round. I don't think the T's are going to be overly aggressive in their hunting of these remaining players, just because their money's not very good either. And they can at least keep the AWP through for another round. The fact is, though, other than the constant openers, they've managed to get onto Motum, which I would mention as a problem, but I almost feel like that's part of his gameplay, if that makes sense. Like, he's going to be so aggressive and push so much that every once in a while he'll get you a play that wins you around almost individually, but then there'll be a few others scattered along with it where he's just wrecked at the beginning. And I think that's something that High Coast have almost just factored in. Like, okay, he might get caught. We need to be able to play without it.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. He's the kind of player that can either win you a round or just put you slightly behind. And I think it's a worthwhile, the risk versus reward factor is definitely worth it for sometimes him to have a bit of a dud and not really do much in a half. I think he harkens back to like that classic sort of entry fragger role that we had for a while. A lot of the roles for me have now kind of merged into one. And Motum is that kind of guy that's like, sometimes screw it, I'm just going to push out alone, maybe flash myself in or something, and just try and cause as much carnage as possible. And it's great to have a player like that on your team, but as you say, sometimes you have to realize it's not going to work the way you hope it does. Even without him, though, High Coast have been doing just fine. And if Motum starts to connect some of those entries, then this could get out of control. Good damage from Sonic, at least pushes back Boo, and there's a grenade that's lined up. Didn't really tag them as much as I'm sure he was hoping for, but that flick from OC is beautiful. And that's the bomb that gets dropped down. Easily retrieved, of course, but it does stagger High Coast a little bit.
It must be enjoyable having someone like that on your team, because the amount of times now we've seen him aggress towards shore and come out successful. Repositioned, fairly open spot. The only worry is if there's a decent flash, he could be in trouble. And whoa, they're going to lose both players within a matter of seconds. Modem could buy us alongside with Ben. And while Sonic, all he can really do is wait. Fang's been destroyed as well. There's no real chance here for Extra Soul. It started off so strong. I don't know how many rounds there is now that they've managed to get the opening pick, but they're really not converting any of them.
And the damning stat as well is, remember that 3 of these 4 rounds that Extra Salt have picked up were off the back of the pistol round. So in terms of rifles, you're looking at, what, 1? And I think they had to defuse in that round as well. So High Coast, when rifles have been out in play, have been far superior than Extra Salt. And that kind of does, I suppose, reflect the stats where you're looking at statistically the maps that have been picked up today of Dust2, Vertigo, and Nuke. And this is by far statistically the best map that High Coast Esports have. So you'd feel like this is the map that they have to win. But it's the nature in which they've been getting success that, for me, is breathing a lot of confidence towards this squad.
Oh, yeah, just cleaning things up. And well, RCF could do it too. Who knew? Who knew? Exactly the same shot we saw at the beginning of the round. And a decent round across the board. And it is actually going to be a pause taken. And I think it's about the right time for Extra Salt. Like, things haven't been going awfully. It's just more the problems that we've seen in some of the latter round stages where we've seen High Coast get easy after plant positions and then just hold on to them. And I even feel like the trading has been a little bit lapsed sometimes from Extra Salt. Like, they've been very good, as said, at getting openers, but then from then onwards, they just seem to lose a lot of jewels.
That's an interesting stat that you probably wouldn't really associate with Extra Salt, but the 4th best team for flash assists in the world.
That was brought to you by Ryan's friend. How much do he pay you, Elliot? How much?
Well, here we go.
For that, I can tell you now.
They push out to the site. I say push out, actually, a well-placed smoke will keep them at bay. They were at least flirting with the idea. OC not for the first time, aggression down on Catwalk, but he will be forced away through the flames of the Molotov.
They haven't invested fully into this round. OC this time, his AWP has gone amiss, and High Coast again just willing to play things a little bit slower. Marky's been left solo, but he does have one of the rifles. Takes a bit of a tag as the spam comes through. The other T's in the meantime are starting to push and probe elsewhere. Pone alone, finding that there's very little control into long. And considering what's in play, it is a very passive stance. I can understand High Coast being a bit more tentative in this round, like taking their time, because they know that there's going to be some weaker weapons or a full force. So either way, you don't want to get caught up by some aggression. The only problem now is the time. 35 seconds on the clock. And they have to get a move.
Time becoming an enemy of High Coast Esports. They're going to crack open a couple of players, but they're also on the receiving end of some bullets too. OC's gone down elsewhere, but it's all about Marky. Can he hold the line? No. RCF no-scopes him through the box. And Fan can do little but watch on as the B site falls again. Deagle in hand, they will have a bite into the next round, and their round loss is starting to build up, so it could be worthwhile to try and throw in the opportunity, see if he can maybe take this round after all. Pushing through the window, but Boo is just underneath him, and High Coast again are successful.
Yeah, I think when the bomb goes down, I'm fairly confident most of the time that High Coast are going to take the round. They seem quite calm and collected in their after plants, and for a team that has sort of been, well, even mentioned by Modem in the interview that they've been having to work on a lot of the protocols that just weren't there, be it like their grenades or be it their after plant positions. They're looking like they're better at the moment. Marky, though, he gets an opener, but Fang, it seemed like he should have been ready and set. Maybe the flashbang caught him a bit more than thought, and OC just repeats. They're waiting for that. They're expecting that. Pwn alone will retrieve an AWP, and see you later, JT and Sonic. Well, there's nothing he can do. This round is already over, and we're only 30 seconds in.
Sonic has the arduous task of just trying to save, and it's just not really anything else. The money situation for High Coast affords them the luxury of chasing him with all the players. They'll keep 1 on 8 just to make sure he doesn't sneak this from underneath their nose, but now they spotted him. He will be getting picked off. There's a discussion. Do they want the second up? They decide against it. Can't really blame them. It's been working fantastically with all these AKs. They just push out, and this has been the issue time after time. The utility has been on point, and Long just falls over and over again, Tom. How did Extra Salt fill in this gap?
It's not even just Long. I don't think there's been anywhere in particular where I can think Extra Salt have been having a lot of success. I guess the early picks that come in from OC on short have worked, and some middle control from Sonic at times, but I feel like he slowed down a lot from what we saw in the early rounds of this match. Maybe just going off the back of the momentum of the pistol, and since then, he's been punished a fair few times. But yeah, B, Long, it's really not been too successful, and even short now, of course, it's a different story as it's pistols, and Fang has done well to at least even things.
They still have JT, who's on catwalk, who may have had the drop on them, but now he's been spotted, and Boot taps his way into potentially more kills. I have no idea how JT is still alive. Ben has claimed the frag onto Fang at least, and the Molotov didn't quite extend far enough to deal with JT, so he's still in position to rattle off some shots. He finally does get picked off by RCF, and the rest of the puzzle is falling into place. Sonic may be able to save the AK, but we're just going back to that similar kind of point here where, you know, best case scenario that Extra Salt can do is like save a weapon here or there. In terms of the rounds, like they're never really in them.
I think the point that has to be brought up, if you're always saving a weapon, that either means that the execution coming out from High Coast is so fast that you can't do anything about it, or you're just not getting the right rotations in time. And I think it's a bit of both. Like, I think High Coast have done very well to pick up the pace when needed, but at the same time, I think some of the rotations have left players, like, for example, on B, just hung out to dry. Like, they're already halfway in the site, someone's trying to hold on, and the rotation is just too slow. I think on the A site as well, like, the amount of times we've seen a pick come in and Sonic's just on the other side of the map. Now, fair enough, there is normally someone lurking that they need to try and catch, but it's getting to the point where I don't think that matters so much. Like, if the round's already over by the time you start to rotate, that might mean you're a little bit too slow.
I do also wonder, though, if that means that when Extra Salt go on the T side, they're just going to have a lot more success. Because High Coast can't be as aggressive at that point. They can't be in position as often and outmaneuvering Extra Salt. So I suppose that's something to maybe look towards. And I think Dust2 is a map that lends itself to a lot of T success anyway. So I wouldn't be pushing the panic button just yet, but there's definitely a lot of worrying signs that are building up here. Lots of damage to Motum as he throws down the smoke. He gets tagged through the double doors. And that was courtesy of Sonic's AWP. But there's a gap there. That's what the smoke is designed for. But Sonic just walks straight past and he's okay. Misses the next shot, though. And that allows the T's to start to spill out onto the B side.
Oh, Monimus just obliterated. I felt like they had to know he was there. He was spamming just seconds ago, but it doesn't matter. Can't quite convert the third, but he's given his team a chance. They've got the B site under their control, and as I said, once the bomb goes down, it seems to be round over, at least in the majority of cases. Now, they're still making sure everything's clear. Molotov going to be bounced in. That will make the position a bit more awkward for Pwn alone, and RCF has also been What? Sonic's just killed JT! Mutiny in the ranks, Vince! It's all gone wrong! He's now trying to close the round alone, and Pwn alone will put him in the dirt. We don't like betrayal here.
Did he tag RCF through his teammate's head? Because I saw them both get tagged at once. I hope we see it on this replay. This is going to be... He did.
Oh, no.
I can't even blame Sonic for that. I can't say that's Sonic's fault at all. That's just super unlucky.
JT had a death wish.
Yeah. Like, what can Sonic do? He spots the player, he shoots in the right area, he tags RCF. And actually, I wonder if JT tanking that bullet saved RCF's life. It might have.
It is possible. It definitely is possible that his head just saved RCF, which that would be maybe one of the worst ways to lose a round ever. But hey, we have to move on. And High Coast again, as said, once that bomb goes down, it just seems to go in their favor. They've got enough that they could also invest into some auto snipers. We've already got one on Taboo. And both teams sort of mentioned a bit of BM. I will say, I like a bit of trash talk, Fang, but you've got to back it up. And thus far, that's not really been the case.
Nice shot from Pone alone again. Fang goes out for the wide swing and gets punished for it. And Sonic also got tagged in middle. I assume that's from an AWP. He got tagged through the doors. Motton pushing right behind it. And then thinks better of that decision, trying to draw out some fire, some extra utility, but also keeping 2 players on the double doors, which makes them a little bit more vulnerable on A site. If you have a look across, JT is all by himself here. And they have nobody on long, because the long player died early in the form of Fang. So A site is ripe for the taking, and JT is all alone.
He's been having a rough game as well. He'd have to go pretty huge. Look at Sonic, though. If he gets this right, he might be able to ruin their day. He's coming up behind them on shore as we speak. Now, they are checking it, but I think he's got the timing spot on. Here he goes, looking to try and ruin this round, and he gets 2 kills. A perfect play, but there's still multiple players to try and stop this comeback in the round. A 3-on-3 ensues as they still look to take this site.
Oh, but an ace up the sleeve was RCF on B site, and he got nuked down, leaving it all on bed. 1-on-3 flash is so good. He can't see anything. And at least Extra Salt start and end the half in winning ways, but they still trail going into the second half, 10-5.
Just let me right back to where you are. Can we go back in time? Can you forget the lies? And I'll believe when you deny. It's always been the same, playing our selfish games, but never learn to say goodbye. You're my type, but I'm leaving you with or without tonight. Baby, can't you see that this ain't wrong or right? 'Cause you can't let go, but I can't hold on like this. So you can't let go, 'cause I can't go on like this. Tonight, baby, can't
while the first pistol gave Extra Salt a bit of a buffer, but other than that, it has been High Coast Esports all the way. Now going into the second half, Vince, I feel like Extra Salt almost have to win both pistols to be in this match.
Yeah, it's a damning stat when more than half of their overall rounds were off the first pistol. So let's see if they can strike gold twice. JT with only 3 kills to his name. We'll be hoping that stat changes very soon indeed, and has a bit of a flirtatious affair over on long side, but this is buying up time for the rest of the troops to start to deliver the fatal blow, or at least that's what they're hoping for over on A side. Catwalk's being pressured down on, and RCF instantly popped in the head by Marky. That will bare minimum be a bomb plant.
Something to play around. Now, there are a few flashbangs and a kit available for High Coast, but getting back into this is not going to be easy. A quick trade, but they seem to be all going in favor of the T's until Modem comes along. 2 dropped, and players on short. The problem is, look where the kid is. He has to almost jump down to go get it. And in the meantime, his teammate seemed to be going in that direction, but actually misses the kit as well. They really are running out of time, trying to bait a couple of players back into the peak, but it will be JT to double up and add a couple of frags to the tally.
Yeah, I understand why he gave up on the kit, because if he runs to get the kit there, they're going to have double high ground on him, and he's basically dead when he runs back to the site. So he took the gamble. Understandable. But unfortunately for the CTs, they've conceded Extra Salt with both pistols, and now a golden opportunity to romp through the rounds and close the gap considerably. And one of the issues that we said is High Coast aggression and their systematic control over all the map was the issue on the CT side. Now Extra Salt have the ability to return the favor.
On control. The main point of call. Always something I like to see in these sort of rounds as well. Sonic catching off everybody as they look to rotate. It leaves RCF with a pretty mammoth task. Although with your teammate holding on to B, we're actually going to see the T start to rotate. Boo's in a good position, but I don't think he expected to see 80% of his opponents running past. While Sonic, he's been left to hold down the fort. It's ended quite weird. He might end up getting flanked. And actually, Ben could catch the bomb.
He has. He's done just that. He's traded up weapons on top of it. 50 seconds to go, and most of the T's are still stuck around the T spawn. However, RCF felt the fatal blow by Sonic's hands, and Ben has been spotted in the tunnel. Pick your poison, pick which direction you want to be killed from, because you're pretty much screwed. I say that as he double taps Sonic in the head and is still pushing through the bullets to try and get the drop on the lower tunnels player. This is a very intelligent play by Ben. There's just too many people to watch out for. Very nice effort from Ben. I can't really fault him for that. Ultimately, his teammates just left him out to dry.
Yeah, still seeming a little bit careless from Extra Salt, but they do enough. I say that Sonic does enough. Like getting the double entry on the players pushing through, basically won them the round there and then it just came down to risks being taken by High Coast to try and stop that from happening. Modem is going to go for a deagle, and again, straight into mid. It looks like we might be seeing more aggression into B, and this could work in his favor, especially if they're going to look to clear the tunnels, which, I'll be honest, Vince, if they don't look to clear the tunnels, I will be a little bit worried.
Oh, that's a whiffed smoke as well. That's far from ideal. And in amongst all of that, Motum's now moving in, so he can clear this angle. Even if he doesn't get kills, he can relay this information to the rest of his teammates. So they should feel pretty comfortable that B-side is no longer a threat, no longer an issue. 2 players rotating around the back, and with 2 taking shots at the top of T-spawn. Had they not have killed Pwn alone that quickly, I actually think they both get caught. But because they did, they've somehow bypassed this double rotation play.
Oh, Fang will get dinked up, but yeah, Marky's been left behind. Oh, spots one of the players rotating in. You may have heard the dink sound, but it's not really the dink damage. I think that was straight through a wall, so it really hasn't done much to him whatsoever. The remainder of Extra Salt basically closed out this round. Now, it looks like there is going to be an attempt to do some damage. However, JT's Mac 10, I'd almost want to see him try and hunt some of these kills down. He is going to be searching for it, although it's not getting any better. In fact, Sonic's now going in. A loss of an AK would not be worth it. That's exactly what has happened. A second second one being dropped as well. This is becoming very costly. And sure, the remaining players will drop to the bomb, but hey, that's not bad at all. That's 2 AKs dropped to the deck for the price of basically nothing.
100% worth for High Coast. You hit them on the head. They just wanted to do as much damage as possible. They basically all had USPs. And they even stuck on the site, like basically, you know, trying to defuse, saying you have to stick by us. Like you've got to stay in proximity of the bomb. You've got to stay in proximity of our bullets. So well done by High Coast. And now they can come back into this round with 2 AWPs. And although Extra Salt are fine to buy into the next round, regardless of what happens, it's all about the bigger picture here from High Coast in that last round. RCF, one of the players to watch out for, misses his flick and has to fall back.
He's not had the same level of flair just yet, but if anything, that might be a positive because they've done so well without him. And in fact, this time, it's actually Ben on the AWP. Not the normal candidate, at least from what we've seen so far. We normally look towards the likes of Pone alone, but it seems like he's doing well on the rifle as is. Well, the remaining 2 players from Extra Salt are left in pretty rough waters. A crossfire to try and get through. Sonic is dead for what? Has Boo got his sound turned off? How has Sonic got away with that? That makes no sense at all. He literally sprinted towards you and High Coast have just folded. What has happened here?
I don't have answers for you. I can only assume a lapse of communication or concentration, and what a time. Now, RCF isn't completely out of this round just yet. They're not sure where he is. The last time they heard the AWP, it was up middle. So he's going to get the shutdown onto Fang in the back. But Sonic's already made moves onto the A side of the map, but he's got to plant out in the open. So now he can just hold position. Now, RCF has no kit and no grenades. He will switch to the AK as a result of that, just to make sure that at longer range he can go for the spray. But it needs to get in close proximity and quickly. This means that one of these angles may go unchecked. He may give his position away through a stampede of footsteps that Sonic can now hear. He pops up and puts the head clean off of RCF. Sonic's had a phenomenal round, but you have to ask questions of High Coast. They let him have a phenomenal round by not dealing with him.
I genuinely have no idea how this happened. Either they thought they were in a crossfire and Blue just was like, oh, my teammate's watching this. There's no way he can get there. Or he's playing with his monitor off and his sound turned all the way down. Like, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. I don't understand how Sonic got away with it. He hits the shots. He did a fine job to bring that round back. But honestly, I have no idea what High Coast were doing.
I've just got to shake that one off, honestly. But when you look at the overall picture of the game, this actually could be the moment where Extra Salt turn this around and run away with it. The economy of High Coast in the doldrums, they'll feel like that should have been their round. And the one primary weapon they had in the form of a scout, which on Dust2 definitely is a primary weapon, has already been cartwheeled out. Marquis holds his line down middle, and he'll keep getting peeked. The scout has been picked up and trades hands into Pone alone, and typically is their secondary AWPer, so he's going to be no scrub with this gun. But Extra Salt looking more and more likely that they'll get us to 10-10, and I do wonder, come the end of this map, is that the moment, Tom, of Sonic getting a 3K, rushing straight through CT spawn that began the disaster?
Yeah, I'd say so. If they now go on to lose this map, I think that's the turning point. That was a round that, honestly, I think it was almost impossible to lose. Like, they were completely sandwiched into mid and had to run through CT. Like, it made no sense for them to come out of that on top. It's the more I think about it, the more annoyed I get, Vince. So I would really prefer if you stop bringing it up.
Message received, Tom. I'm sure High Coast have already forgot, to be fair.
I'm sure Blair hasn't.
No, this will be the round that he now brings up to go over and analyze just to spite you. I hope you realize that, Tom.
Probably, but I would take that time to go get myself a drink, so that's fine.
Well, Pone alone, the secondary AWPer, as I highlighted, has picked up the first kill, and he's had a lot more impact. You wouldn't even be, I would say, unfortunate to look at this and think he's their primary, the way he's been playing compared to RCF. He's just not had that level that we expected to see from him, the Brazilian AWPer.
I think it's the manner in which they play. I think the fact that Pone alone can take that sort of almost calmer secondary AWP and just hit the shots that he needs to. I think it works within a double AWP not to have two players doing exactly the same thing. And while for the T's now, they do need to try and find a way back into this round. Although we've sort of joked that that might have been the turning point. Definitely not out of this just yet. They had a stellar first half. They've now lost both pistols and are still in this match. But here goes the push.
They've also dropped down to CT, so there's two separate angles RCF has to watch out for, and I can't even blame him for that one. The flash was perfect. The execution, sublime. But the result may not be there unless Boo can spray it down, and he's done that alongside Motum. But it's mainly Motum that's picked up the pieces. Fang now with the AWP is going to try and put this in to the pocket of Extra Salt, and instead, Heiko snatch it away.
Yeah, the quick flank was superb as well, but I feel like there was almost a bit of panic in that from the T side. Like, nobody really watching for this flank to come in, and with two players coming up, they managed to do so much work. Heiko's take back their lead, and a little bit of hesitance, it seems, from the T side of what they're going to invest into this round. OC with a glass cannon AWP. It's definitely not lit up the server as much as maybe I expected to. The stats don't seem bad, but there was a lot of saves in the first half, especially. Sonic has been probably the main driving force of this Extra Salt team. Sure, JT might be a little bit quieter, but we know it's not really his role within the squad. If they're losing and he's not top fragging, that's not necessarily that much of a surprise. On the other side of things as well, we're looking for someone like RCF, but it has been the likes of Modern. Pwn alone, Boo at times as well. It seems, though, Extra Salt are just going to play the same song, go for the same take, or at least initially. They've taken short control, and again, there comes Sonic. That's the opener they needed. RCF is going to re-aggress to try and find a response, but he has got to be careful.
One flash, well placed, is basically him gone again. They put a smoke down just before it, and they're also going to be hitting long at the same time. This is where the FAMAS needs to be good, and it is. Ben puts down one frag, but then gets instantly countered. And RCF, who's already gone in for one, has to deal with a jumping play. That's a really nice flick, but there's only so much the AWP can do in that position. He did about as much as he could. He got the mileage he could have out of that position, but now it's a 2-on-2. Has he given his teammates a good enough opportunity to clutch this one up? The flashbang leaves Fang in an awkward position. He's going to get flanked by Motum, who moves on to 16 frags. OC, 1 versus 2, knows where Motum is, but no idea as to that second player, and he's shot, and in doing so has to retreat back to the site. This is where Pwn alone could have the side swipe and takes his head clean off.
That was really good synergy from both players on High Coast. The fact that the flashbang is used to almost push Fang away, get him off the angle for the initial peek, and then Modem does exactly the same thing to almost bait things out for OC to peek his angle and buy time for his teammate. That was a really good retake from the remaining two players. Props have to be given, and RCF as well. Big round from him. As I said, the risk he was taking was huge, but not only the kills he got, but also the amount of time he delayed allowed for so much to be done by Heikos. Now, knowing how important that round was, they're actually going to take up a pause of their own.
Certainly on board for this. Flip the script. Heikos picked up 9 flash assists to Extra Salt's 2 in the first half. And of course, that is going back to that stat that we heard earlier, that they're 4th in the world for flash assists are Extra Salt. So they're being pipped to the post this time around from High Coast. And even still, the odds are in favor of Extra Salt, even though they trail by 2 rounds.
Yeah, I think as well, it has to be considered back again. I brought it up multiple times, but the interview that Modem said, like, that's something he really wants to bring to this team, is the extra level of not just having the individual players, but having the supporting cast as well. And the fact that they are now doing better than his previous team, which he was talking about, and that's slightly ironic, but also quite entertaining. Like, the fact that he's been able to add such a level to this squad and now challenge versus the team that got rid of him in the first place. Sure, there might not be bad blood between them, but at the same time, if he can come back and beat them, I'm sure that will make his day.
Oh, no doubt. Want to prove that he's got on to bigger and better things. And that narrative certainly has a few threads, I would say, that need to be pulled on. And Maybe a few more chapters to be written yet, because even though his team are doing better right now, this is the map we expect them to do the best on. And it's still not quite across the finish line, albeit in this round you expect them to take it. It's only pistols, but they flashed and smoked their way across to the site, meaning a post plant will come up. And when you're pushing back onto a site against Tech 9s, Deagles, and P250s, well, anything can happen.
Sonic still hiding. This is a weird afterplant. They've pushed all the way through. They've taken so much control, but they have left basically 2 players to try and defend the site. JT will hold on for 1. Fang does a good job as well. In fact, JT's managed to kill off 2, considering the initial plan. The flank comes in, however, from Modem, and now it leaves Sonic with a daunting task. A player defusing. He almost needs to hit a jumping Deagle shot to stop this, and he almost does. It's so close, but he hasn't denied the defusal. It will be within seconds. A nice try from Sonic, but High Coast ultimately take the round.
Jeez, that was milliseconds away from stopping the defuse. I think he only just got that defuse in total. Tied him down to like 3 HP or something mad. And in pistols, they nearly get it done. They take 4 players with them. So even though they concede the round, Tom, it's still going to have drastic implications for High Coast's economy. And now if they're successful with rifles, when they're so close with pistols, well, then you're looking at High Coast being flat out broke. That was an unreal play out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's a crap your pants round from High Coast. I am not surprised at all that they've taken a pause after that, because realistically, they almost just, again, lost a round that never should have been. I like the re-aggression from Extra Salt in their afterplant. It did somewhat come back to bite them a little bit with the late flank coming through. But yeah, they were very, very lucky that I think Motum even takes the majority of the damage, and that actually baits Sonic into thinking this is done. Like, okay, I've killed the guy on the bomb, but in fact, he killed the guy on the head of the guy defusing the bomb. So it works as bait, but that's not a good round from High Coast by any stretch. Sure, we get excited for the fact that they won it, but they should have been winning it cleanly, not at a scrape.
Yeah, even while successful and victorious, they won't feel like it was a success at all. And they know that they just let Extra Salt move 1 giant step closer. 3-round deficit, but this economy could at least bring back 2 in quick succession. Budo through the smoke takes off the head of JT. They can't stop the push from all the T's getting straight onto the site. Well-placed Molotov onto Catwalk keeps 2 of the remaining CTs at bay. Post plant coming in momentarily, and now RCF having a quick peer with his scout to see, or his scope, I should say, on the AWP to see if he can maybe alleviate some of the pressure for this Catwalk re-engage. They're all actually together, clumped as one united force, now dropping down into CT, and Sonic goes in for a double spray. And with that double spray, High Coast have got to back away, and they have to save.
Oh, and Sonic's bringing the pain. 26 kills to his name already. And RCF scurries back to try and save the AWP. They will have no money for the next round. You brought it up as a talking point that, sure, that may have been a win, but it wasn't much of one with the amount of damage that Extra Salt did. And now the damage has only got worse. At least the Brazilian will be able to hold on to that AWP and give them something into the next round. Yeah, this has definitely gone wrong. The retake just allowing this man to tear them apart, and he really is having one hell of a game. Like, they've changed or chopped and changed this roster. Different players being added in. But if Sonic can play like this, I think he's in for the long haul.
There we go, RCF. We've been waiting for a moment like that. OC has been dictating the pace of this map thus far with the AWP. And RCF, right up middle, has taken him down. He does get legged in the process down to 20 HP, but those are the kind of impactful moments that High Coast may need to just narrowly edge their way over the finish line. Now, in the context of the round, RCF is the only player with any kind of firepower. So even with having a player advantage, Extra Salt are still certainly favorites to take this round. I'd be very surprised if they let this one slip from this position.
Was that their own flash that left Fang that blind?
Yeah, I think it was.
It was popped over his head, just like, oh, well, that's me gone. Not ideal, but not punished, so it doesn't matter. Sonic picks off another, a chance for a few eco frags and maybe getting himself towards that 40 bomb. RCF, though, He's very low. And they do have one more Molotov, but it's not going to be used. It doesn't matter, though, because he's left so blind by the flash that there's nothing to be had. A reposition of Boom, maybe hoping to get the AWP, but they are now being picked apart. At least a little bit of extra damage. The problem now, though, is that AWP is likely to go amiss in this round.
Oh, Ben has one, but it's at the cost of any armor. No kit across the entire team. They're lacking any incendiaries. So, by far and away, not the kind of buy they were looking for, but they've put that glass cannon to use. The AWP has stuck the landing, and who else but Sonic? He's almost worth 3 players by himself at this stage. That is a beautiful start. And the flash to the follow-through kill affords them the luxury of getting a secondary AWP, and RCF has it on his hands. This is a fantastic passage of play for High Coast. They have to deal with Fang. They've done so successfully. He did tag up Bo, and now he's been finished off by OC, who doubles up for 2. But he's down to 13 HP, and there's still so many players left.
What?
OC at range, though, out-aims and out-brains RCF, sprays him down, and puts it into a 1-on-2 with Marky. A chance to potentially clutch this out.
Ridiculous spray control, but it may all be for nothing. Timing's going to be everything here as the slow peek comes through. A missed shot. This gives a reposition for Mark. He's trying to bait out a second. A flashbang pop, a second as well. It will leave Ben completely blind and isolated. And now it's on to Modem, his replacement, looking to try and take him down. A 1 versus 1 ensues. Still plenty of time. Marky does not have to rush this. He's going to try and bait out the cross and does tap onto the Molotov. Modem might just try and follow him through. I don't think Marky knows his position, but he does bait him in nonetheless. A worthy replacement, it seems, as he brings things back to 13-13.
That's a seriously intense Counter-Strike, and the Mexican stands tall come the end of that 1v1. But OC, he's got to get definitely a bit of the plaudits there, Tom, because without those 2 or 3 kills he picked up, especially the spray onto RCF at range, taking down that secondary AWP, that round would not have been possible. 13-13, the extra salt. They have a vast advantage in terms of finances and firepower. High Coast are down to pistols and only 1 player on long, which is Ben, and you expect this angle to get covered, but they don't actually check it. JT's walking straight past. Ben is waiting for more players. He's relaying the information to the rest of his teammates to quickly rotate onto A side. He can see 1 player and he's waiting to see more. And then he may snatch at the opportunity to take some of these players down. I can't believe that not a single one of them has checked pits.
Is this baby's first Dust2? How has this happened? How has no one checked pit? Oh no, please get a kill at least. After all that. Oh god, he allows for the rotation. It doesn't mean anything, and JT ends up getting a quad kill, but yeah, I can't believe that they've not checked pit. Like, there are very few times where there's 2 things in a game that really hurt my head, but this one has done it.
Especially when you're under no duress or pressure from long. Like, it takes half a second to check pit, right? And the ramifications there could have been so brutal. Imagine that Ben just gets a crispy couple of 1-digs, drops the bomb down, and then suddenly those rotational plays that hit A could come out the smoke and sideswipe and sandwich in the plays that are alongside trying to deal with the threat of Ben. Like, you can see ways in which this round goes horribly wrong, all because they didn't do their due diligence and check a spot that so often has a player in there, especially when you're against a bad buy or a bad sort of economy. So Pawn Alone's going to try and see if he can get a couple of kills or at least bait some of these players on towards the bomb for the detonation. Won't be happening. An extra salt on the home stretch have taken the lead, and there's another tactical timeout.
Yeah, I like the way that High Coast are using them, at least. Like, you have 4, you might as well use the lot. I do now feel like there's been multiple rounds that they have lost, which they should have won, that could have completely ended this game. Like, not only moments ago, the 2 versus 4 that we witnessed with OC and, or was it 2v5? OC in combination with Marky to bring that one home, but also earlier where we saw that thing that happened that I'm trying to forget. So it's a point in the match where you have to look at High Coast and go, you've had all the opportunities now to close out this game. Now it's still very possible that they do it, especially with the double AWP now coming back into play. But if Extra Salt do get away with it, well, I think that will be the headline, that they got away with it.
Oh, they definitely are going to pull off the great escape if they somehow convert from this point. Fang, though, has been sent reeling. JT hoping that they wide swung into position. He could get a couple of stray bullets through the smoke to connect into heads. Won't be forthcoming. So, Extra Salt getting close to the finish line. But they have been slapped back down again from High Coast. Extra Salt now moving in towards the catwalk, but there's only 2 of the remaining 4 players that are up here, and RCF, not for the first time, is holding this one-and-done position. I'm not sure he'll get flashed out, and if OC slow peeks this, you expect RCF to always win that fight. It's not just the frag, but he dropped the bomb down, and he definitely saw that.
That's all right. All these sacrifices are just making the remaining players of Extra Salt stronger, or at least that's what it seems. The deficits have been what bring them back, and while Sonic's still standing, he's been a bit quieter over the last couple of rounds, but I think he's done enough thus far, and well, there you go, there's one. A 3 versus 4, Pwn alone dead, and also Modem's gonna fall as well. It's diminishing in the same way as before, as Marky now picks off another. It's always worrying when you can predict the fall of a team from such a dangerous position, but maybe there's still life in them. Just yet, RCF turning the tide once again as Sonic has to try and clutch this out. The fake flash with the Glock is baiting no one, but he is going to spray, and this time it's twists and turns as High Coast get themselves the victory.
Oh, geez, Tom. I honestly thought they'd just thrown that round away. RCF has just dug them straight out of a horrible predicament, and they're using their final tactical timeout to get on the same page. Tag without the frag, the top 2 players for assists per round at the event are both Extra Salt players. That's pretty frustrating.
14-14. Another pause. Gonna see both teams again with a bye. No double AWP this time, as one of them was lost, and you almost feel like the winner of this round could be the one to close it out just based on finances alone. Like, both teams on the brink. A little bit more for the T's, so I guess a bomb plant might do enough. Again, we're gonna see this fast taken to long. They've got good spawns, and the incendiary is not gonna do anything to deny them. In fact, I don't even think it landed at all.
Yeah, too
Not
high.
that it was really a point of contest, but that's a mistake. They walk in front of each other, and it actually cost them.
Did RCF shoot Boo down to 13 and then die himself? I'm not quite sure what happened there, but Fang's gone down on the site. Ben is running out of ammunition in the FAMAS, but still puts them all into the right positions, into the right spots, and takes it to a 3-on-3. Sonic on the crossbow. He's landed his 30. He's got a 31st as well, giving out free haircuts left and right. But finally, his kill streak will come to an abrupt end, and Pwn alone is hoping to try and make something special happening amongst all the chaos. But OC has it watched with the AWP. The second he comes round the corner, he's a dead man. And Extra Salt, they've got themselves a map point, and have a quick gander across to that economy on High Coast Esports. It is terrible.
It's in the toilet. I think as well, I think it was more the case that because RCF saw his teammate walk across, he hesitated. And that hesitation was enough to get him killed, which is rough. Because that just looks like poor timing on High Coast's part, and that could have been an opener onto a player who actually went on to finish the round. Like I mentioned, Sonic going a little bit quiet. He got 3 kills there, and it started right there. So difference makers being had, and well, there's no doubt the South African has been one of them. Hot flash going to be going into long. There is a couple of players close, and although it has caught them, as is a bit of damage, they will live to tell the tale. Fang as well has put that nade in his back pocket. Even still, though, they're looking to take space elsewhere, but the rotations from the CT side have actually been spot on. And now another nade lands. They may not have much in terms of weaponry, Vince, but the HGs are doing fantastic work.
Oh, they've made the absolute most of their grenades and their utility, absolutely. Done a really good job of stymieing and stalling, and also softening up some of these targets. That puts them into range of all the weapons that High Coast have. JT and Fang, if they peek round the corner, doesn't matter which weapon High Coast have, they're likely getting fragged. And that is going to be playing in the back of their minds. Now, we haven't really seen Extra Salt hit B too many times. So this could catch High Coast off guard. It's typically been very A-centered, as is often the case with Dust2. And what a time to mix it up. JT into the head of RCF, now can start to wrap around while the rest of his team start to push into the side. Spins around, notices multiple players in, but the flash is good, and Motum's dropped down the bomb. They still have to push through the smoke, through the flames, and Pone alone with the MP9 can't quite get it done. The remaining 3 Ts are all healthy, but Motum on the car could be the last bastion of hope. He gets sprayed down, and Boo on 12 HP has to back away. He knows his grenade's headed his way. He knows there's going to be bullets as well. And it's a big headshot onto OC. This would be a phenomenal 1v3 clutch to keep them on Dust2. Their choice of map, their real hope of winning a map in the semifinals, you have to think. And with the grand finals so close, Sonic has put in a stellar performance, well over 30 kills, and it's justifiable that he gets the last kill of the first map.